Welcome in, guys, to the Full Force Fathers Podcast. Alongside my co-host David Fortin, I am Brett Odoni. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. I can't believe how excited I am for today's episode. Lucky number 7, Dave.
7. We got a great episode in store, everybody. You're gonna love this one.
I mean, I was just telling Dave, I'm like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm an 11 right now. So I told him if he brings a 4, we're good to go for the day. I mean, give me a little bit of bring me to earth a little, calm me down. But we got great topics to discuss today, guys. But before we get into it, just a little house cleaning. You know where to find us on YouTube at Full Force Fathers, on Instagram at Full Force Fathers, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Full Force Fathers podcast. So we appreciate you listening in. We appreciate the feedback. And today's topic that we're going to jump right into here, Dave, because I'm ready to rock and roll with it, is kind of a sticky subject for some parents. We're not going to toe the line. Our opinions are our opinions. But I want to talk today, and this is one that I've gotten some feedback before the show, asking parents, and it involves parenting in our role as a parent. And what the topic is, Dave, is kids and cell phones. Initial reaction, go.
They don't need them till they drive. That's my initial reaction.
Okay.
I see too many kids. Like Kendall has friends in school already. She's in 3rd grade that have cell phones. Ridiculous. I don't understand it.
Ridiculous. And that's why we just want, as two fathers of young kids, we just want to discuss it a little bit as to what we think about it, in the sense, I have a soon to be 12-year-old girl, like prime age for all the media and all the, what is the word I'm looking for, Dave? The propaganda that they send to kids these days through TikTok and Instagram. Listen, I'm a fan of all of them. Full Force Fathers grows on all of them. You can find us on all of those major platforms, but we're also adults. All right. The way I look at it with Madison, who's about to be 12, she doesn't need a phone yet. I don't see any reason for her to have a phone yet. And Dean and I, it's a mutual husband-wife decision. We don't feel the need that she needs a phone yet, but she also asks because A, she's a kid, and B, she has friends. And for instance, there's 12
What does
kids.
she want to do? What does she want to do on the phone? So she wants a phone. Why does she think she needs a phone?
I think she wants a phone because her friends have a phone. And right now she's kind of the oddball out, Dave, because there's 12 girls on her soccer team. 10 have phones, 2 don't. So Madison and one other girl on the soccer team don't have phones. So they have a group chat or text going amongst the soccer team where Madison uses my wife's phone. So when a text comes through, it's kind of an annoyance to Aunt Dean because she's like, oh, great, your soccer friends are texting, So I think she wants to feel a little more, I think it's an independence feel.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that I look at it in terms of Madison getting a phone or not is, like I said in the opening, at 12 years old, as a father, as a parent in general, you better know where the hell your kid is at 12 years old. If they're at school, they don't need a phone because if there's an emergency, the school is there. If they're at sports practice, they don't need a phone. There's a coach there if you're not the one coaching the team, right? If they're at a friend's house, then there's a parent there, or there should be a parent there, all right? And we know how kids are these days. They're a lot smarter than we were at 12 years old, Dave, I think.
Well, and the stuff that they can find and see on the internet now is totally different. I mean, I don't know about you. I got my first cell phone when I started driving, right? And that's what I said right out of the gate. That's when I think kids should have a cell phone. And I always get told, you're so old school. Yeah, well, I am, because things worked. And there wasn't as much, media and content driven towards kids, especially negative media and content, the bullying, that aspect of it, like that wasn't present. I mean, we had a cell phone, right? I had the old Nokia, and you had to, if you wanted to type a word on a text, you had to hit, 3 times to get a letter and all the way through. So it would take you 2 minutes to type a text message to a friend or something. So it wasn't worth it. Now it's so easy to do all of those things and take pictures. I could take a picture on my Nokia phone, right? You can take pictures now and send them, and you're doing all these things. And it just opens up such an unfriendly world to our kids. And at 12 years old for Madison, I know certainly at 8 for Kendall, that's just not a place that I want to put her in yet.
Oh, and to like you said, the amount of stuff that gets pushed to the kids on these cell phones. We
Mhm.
didn't even talk, but if you guys listened to last week's show and you have bought the book recommendation, Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, she goes into that. I mean, the sexual propaganda that is tossed towards kids, especially young girls, pre-teenage girls, 11, 12, 13, 14, is just downright disgusting. The amount of scumbags and creeps, pedophiles, whatever you want to call them, that are on there. And that's literally all they do is they target young girls, by
Mhm.
text message and whatever it is. So from a
Even if it's
dad,
just a like, if someone's
yeah,
hitting a heart on a picture
yeah,
that your kid posts on Instagram, it could
yeah.
be anybody.
And
And yeah,
kids are,
you could say you're going to censor it and you're going to limit, the reach that they have, but kids can go right into and change things. Like they can
yeah.
figure out how to change those settings and talk to anybody.
And kids are so emotionally unstable. You know, they, the slightest term term of endearment can mean 1,000 wrong things for your kid if someone sends them a message. You mentioned the bullying thing. Oh, what's a good, for especially for me, I'm a dad of 3 girls. I'm going to see it 3 times in a row. You know, a boy, a teenage boy that they may like says, "Oh, you look ugly in that shirt" or something like that. That spirals out of control. I mean, we already know that teen suicide statistics. We're not digging into statistics today, but teen suicide numbers are up. Everything's up because everything is so damn accessible through the phone, right? And we'd be hypocrites to say that we don't live on our phones because everybody lives on a phone now. I bet you 85% of people don't even have house phones. They all live on their cell phones.
Right, and we're all subject to it and we all do it, right? So I catch myself on my cell phone more than I should be. And I have to focus and be like, no, I'm putting this down. I'm putting it away. I don't need this. It's not the priority, right? But kids, like they can pick up those cell phones. They can just be sitting in bed. They don't even have to move. They get a false sense of reality and they really become like a tech zombie, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the generation that, is coming up now. We're sort of the last generation of like, technology kind of became really prevalent as we got out of high school and started moving into college. But we were, our minds were sort of grown at that point. We kind of had, we had grown up playing outside and, hitting the neighborhood and catching up with kids. And now kids just live in this virtual reality world where they can talk to anyone around the world at any time they want. They can contact them in many different ways. They can send pictures, emails, text, TikTok. Like it's endless, and we're taking away their ability to actually communicate with people, right? To have a conversation, to go outside and see someone and say hello, or to call their friend on the phone and actually have a conversation where they could just write acronyms all day back and forth, and they're not accomplishing anything.
Yeah, their conversation and personal skills have gone to shit. This next
Yeah.
generation that's coming up. I mean, think about it. When we were in middle school, high school, by the time you mentioned it, by the time we got cell phones, we probably, I know I did, we probably both went through 2 or 3 girlfriend breakups, right? Those girlfriend breakups back then were like a note that you slipped through the class, right? But it was still a face to face thing. You couldn't, now everything's done text. I bet you, even in my line of work in the mortgage industry, people text more than they talk. And the that may be more of a root of, not to get too far off the subject, but that's more of a root of all evil is these phones make us communicate with each other less. Face to face is gone. That's wiped out.
I,
Even talking is almost gone.
I was talking to somebody not too long ago, and he is 23 years old, and he was telling me about this girl he met on Facebook, and he's like, "Oh, we've been talking for a couple weeks right now, right?" And I know him. I knew him pretty well, and I was like, "Wait, you were talking? You were talking to
Yeah.
her?" He goes, "Yeah, we were talking." I was like, "No, like physically, like you picked up the phone and you had verbal words with her." He's like, "Well, no, not really. Like we were kind of messaging back and forth, and
Yeah.
then we exchanged cell numbers, and we've been texting back and forth." I was like, "So you've never heard her voice?" He's
Yep.
like,
That's
"No, I
crazy.
haven't heard her voice."
Yeah.
you know, this is it. Like you could just be on the other end of the keyboard. So how do you know who you're actually talking to? Right?
Yeah, dude.
Like you can get into those worlds where you don't know.
Yeah, it's insane. People just have full relationships online. And like I said, back to the topic here, we kind of went down a separate rabbit hole in terms of technology and phones and communication skills. But it's paralyzing our youth right now that they don't even know how to respond or react to face or talking. They just relate to texting, or they relate to instant messaging, or whatever it is. In terms of the subject of, I don't think there's a correct age. Like, we both kind of have a baseline where we think when they start driving, then a phone is probably a good idea at that point, because they could be driving by themselves, and if there's ever an emergency. Other than that, when they're younger, they're with a coach at sports, or they're in school, or they're with a parent and a friend and whatnot. So, but I think I also don't want to. I mean, I'll use the same term you did. I sound old-fashioned. Okay, I'm a conservative, old-fashioned guy. It is what it is, and I get it. But to play devil's advocate of myself a little bit, I also think that there are certain circumstances, and this was a great conversation when I was looking first for some perspective on this topic that I had with Andine, is certain circumstances, maybe a phone is okay if they're not driving, but it's a phone. You had mentioned it when we were discussing pre-show notes about these phones that they make now that you can only call certain numbers.
Track phones,
no
prepaid
internet.
phones. You can you can program certain numbers into it, so that's all they can call, right? So you give Madison a phone, you can program your number, Andine's number, and her grandfather's number, because he lives close, right? And those are the only 3 numbers she has. She can't be texting her friends. It's literally to make a phone call in the case of an emergency. But again, it goes back to what you said, right? If you've got a 12-year-old daughter at home, like, you should know where she is.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe that situation is, all right, Madison's going to babysit the girls at some point. She gets to that point. Okay. Well, then, we don't have the majority of people don't have landlines anymore. Right. So maybe in that situation, sure, you get a prepaid phone. You have 3 numbers on here. If anything happens, you use it. And that is the only time you use it. But I think beyond that, like we said, driving is sort of that age, right? Because they're out on their own. Other than that, kids can use my phone. Take my phone. You can call your friend, have a conversation, ask them what you need to ask them. That's perfectly fine. We made it through life. We set up play dates with our friends and got together through a regular landline in a house. It worked. We survived. Here we are.
Yeah. In the conversations these days, I feel like the kids try to make them more privatized by having their own cell phones, where, listen, I remember having a phone in the kitchen with a 30-foot freaking cord on it. And if I wanted to call a friend, or maybe a girlfriend or whoever at that time, the whole house was there. You didn't have a place to run and hide and sneak with your little fingers and make a text. Shit, everybody heard the conversation,
And your brother could pick up the phone in another room and listen in. He can just come here and listen.
Absolutely. So I looked it up. Just now. And what the track phone, prepaid phone, there is a program. This is not a plug for anybody. We don't affiliate with them. Gabb, Gabb, I think is what his Gabb phone is. Exactly that. They get preloaded. You can preload phone numbers on there. You can't do anything else besides make calls with it. So, like I said, if we look to play devil's advocate myself, to look at a responsibility factor of, like, let's say Madison's the most responsible 11-year-old I know. All right. If there's ever a kid at 11 that I think needs a phone, or 12, about to be 12, that could handle a cell phone, it's her. Caroline, my middle, who's about to be 9, she ain't ever getting a phone, because I can't even imagine what the hell she'll look up on YouTube. And Dave, you can attest to her. Yeah. It's going to be how to build something that's not good, and whatever the case might be. I don't know what she's going to look up or who she's going to call. But Madison, if there ever was a kid at her age that's responsible enough to handle a cell phone, I don't got to worry about her texting boys and doing dumb shit, pardon my French, it would be her. So the Gabb phone maybe makes sense for us, because I had a mother tell me at 12 years old she was babysitting, or 13 years old she was babysitting. Yeah. So, and you mentioned it. So in that case, then maybe a phone is, hey, that phone stays at the house. So if you're home babysitting your sisters, then here's a phone to call Papa or me or Mom or whatever if there's an emergency, if we're not around. So in that case, but that's why looking at it at a case-by-case basis is maybe there's no right or what the correct way, I'd say. But to think of my 12-year-old, soon to be 12-year-old daughter running around on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter, and listen, this strikes a chord with people. It's completely unnecessary. And as a parent, you're not doing your job if you allow your 12-year-old kid to just be hammering away on social media, hammering away on their cell phone when they're in school. They bring the phone to school now. Like that's crazy to me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And the thing is, like, they can go down so many rabbit holes and figure stuff out. Like, I know, just like Bryce will like to, like, when we're sitting down, hanging out, sometimes he's like, "Hey guys, can I use your phone? I want to look at pictures." He likes to look back at all the old pictures that Casey takes,
yep.
because Casey takes thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures. So he always wants to kind of sit and look back and see what's there. But man, he gets in that phone, he's whizzing around finding pictures. He showed me stuff the other day, and how you zoom in, zoom out of, like, batches of pictures, and I'm like, it's amazing. And the other day I was driving to work, and I got this call. It was a New York number. I was like, it's weird, right? So I answer the phone, as I always do. You know, "Hello, this is Dave," when I don't know who it is. And it was Kendall. She was calling me from the Alexa, right?
Interesting.
I didn't even know Alexa could do that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
does
Alexa had
everything.
my phone number. So she's in her room in the morning, and she says, "Alexa, call David Fortin." And boom. And I answer, and she goes, "Hey, Dad." I was I can't even explain the dumbfoundedness, if that's even a word, that I
Yeah.
had in that moment. And I was like, I got home that day, and I was like, "Kendall, you just can't be doing that." But like, they find ways to do things
Oh,
with technology. And it's not always, those are some innocent, things, but it's not always innocent. And that's
and it proves the point that, like I said earlier in the show, the kids these days are smarter. They know. And to tie phones into technology in general, we have one iPad in the house, and it only gets taken out if we go camping or we do a road trip and Caroline needs something to pay attention to. Other than that, the
Mhm.
iPad, it's in my possession or Andine's possession. We don't,
Yeah.
we have obviously a Roku or TV, and the kids get a little bit of TV time at night after tubs and showers. But it's just I just think, to tie it in, like just the sheer amount of stuff that gets pushed at the kids these days. I know when we were kids, it was TV commercials that got pushed to us, right?
Yeah.
That was how they marketed kids. Now it's everything.
Well, it's everywhere they look. I mean, Kendall has an iPad. It's pretty much the same thing with us. We take it when, like, we're on a long drive or get on an airplane. She uses it, but every once in a while we'll let her use it in the mornings when she gets up before us, if she's hanging out, and she watches some YouTube stuff. But one of the things that we noticed, and she's actually not using it anymore because we took it away, because her personality changes. She
Mhm.
changes. She
Oh,
she becomes more, I don't know, just like, it's aggressive, and
angry.
just like, just angry, doesn't
M-
care. Like, she just
mhm.
talks back, and it's we've seen it a couple times, and we've tried phasing it back into her a little bit, and we noticed, so she doesn't have it anymore.
Yeah.
It's not something that she can use. But another thing too is, like, they sit there and they watch these things on YouTube. YouTube is, I don't know about you, my kids, they love to watch YouTube videos. Other kids,
Hmm.
Bryce likes to watch kids playing toy. He watches some kid play video games on YouTube on the TV. I just don't, I don't
Yeah.
understand. I'm like, why don't you watch a show? He's like, no, I just like to watch this. So when he gets an opportunity to watch something, that's what he puts on. And whatever, it's harmless. So I'm there, I'm seeing what he's watching, and that's fine. But they'll watch these families that, their job is to YouTube, right? They get
Yep.
toys, they test out toys. So then they're like, "Oh, well, why can't we have that? Look at these kids. They've got such an amazing life." I'm like, "You have an amazing life. Go outside. It's sunny
Yeah.
350 days of the year, and you can be outside. Go enjoy it." Like, these kids are just, they get all these toys for free, and then they think this life is magical, and that everybody should have that life. Well, nobody can afford that life,
Yeah.
right? So,
No.
but they don't understand that these people are getting paid to advertise this in their face. They don't get that.
Yeah, Caroline's the same exact way with, and I know exactly. We're not going to drop names, but we know exactly what families we're talking about on YouTube that Kendall and Caroline will
Yeah,
pay attention to. It's like a magnet, dude. If she gets that iPad and we're not
yeah.
paying attention to it, bam, we're right on that channel, and it's like, God, golly, why can't, like, you know, I love YouTube. We broadcast our podcast on YouTube. I think YouTube's great because you, who are,
But
you're more of a handyman than I am and more crafty, YouTube can teach you all sorts of good stuff.
you can figure anything out on YouTube. Like, if it's a problem that's ever existed, you can find a way to figure it out and fix it yourself. It's
Yeah.
single-handedly the
I bet
greatest
you
tool
could
for
go on
that.
Yeah, I bet you could go on YouTube right now and find a video on kids and cell phones. Like, that's how much
Oh
resources
yeah.
there are on YouTube. But at the end of the day, I'm not telling you, Dave's not, we're not telling you how or what age you should be giving your kids a phone. I'm giving you a little bit of perspective. Dave's giving you his opinion. We just because we agree somewhat on the topic doesn't mean that's we're the be all end all. That's why I said every topic should be, you know, reviewed. Every kid should be reviewed on a case by case basis because some kids are just more mature and can handle it, and some kids aren't. I don't got to worry about Madison going on YouTube to look up stupid shows. I know when Madison, if she goes on YouTube, she's looking up horse videos, how to train a horse, how to saddle a horse, anything she can do with her horse because that's what she loves. Or, and this is going to be a terrible segue into our second topic of the show, but we're just going to go with it. Madison likes to look up cooking on
my
YouTube.
girl. That's because Madison's great, man. She appreciates good food.
Yeah, she appreciates good food. So topic 1 is covered. Parenting and cell phones. Let us know what you think. I have a feeling we maybe struck a chord, but maybe there's a lot of you out there, dads, that feel the same way or don't feel the same way. And that's why we do it. We want to hear from you. But topic number 2 is cooking. It's a kind of we're going from black to white here. We're going from cell phones to cooking. So Dave, take it away with the cooking segment, and then let me see how I can help you out on this one.
Well, you can't help me when I'm cooking, but maybe you can help me through this segment.
Yeah, right? I can help you eat it.
Yeah, that's true. And you do a great job at that. So you might be asking yourself, why are we talking about cooking, right? So one of the things I talked about with Brett as we sort of launched Full Force Fathers is I would like to do a cooking segment every week. Something that's inexpensive, right? Because I'm a financial guy. It doesn't have to break the budget. So it's something that's affordable, and it's something that you can do with your kids. And as we talked about last week, teaching your kids things is so important. And I didn't really realize this when I was young, but I had an eye on my mom when she was in the kitchen and kind of watching what she was doing. So I was picking it up, but I wasn't really interested in it, right? But when I got on my own, I got my first grill, started, kind of getting into cooking some stuff. I found sort of this passion for it. So that's one of the segments we're going to do every week. We're going to see a video. It's going to be an inexpensive meal that you can do with your kids. So what are some of those things you can do, right? One of the things that Kendall and Bryce love to help me with, and I love to do with them, is making homemade pizza. Brett, do you guys make any homemade pizza? I know you guys make homemade pizza, right?
I do not make homemade pizza. And
you just eat the pizza.
Yes. And Dean makes the homemade pizza, and it's delicious, but I don't do the making of it. I tell her what to put on it.
So do the girls help her with it?
Yes, the girls like to help.
Now, I remember one night, this was probably a year ago or so, I remember Madison made dinner for you guys, like the whole dinner, right?
So Madison does make us dinner once a month. She picks out whatever the menu wants to be. She looks it up on YouTube or whatever the case.
Go figure.
And she does make us dinner. She does primarily 95% of the dinner. If there's something that needs to be grilled or cooked that she's not comfortable doing, then Andine or myself will help. But yes, so once a month, Madison does make the family dinner.
That's awesome. Kendall just asked that the other day. She asked if she could make dinner for us soon. So, which is exciting. And I can't wait to see what she comes up with. I told her, because she's got a cookbook. She's got a kid's cookbook. And she goes, Dad, there's a lot of cool things in there that I think I can make. And she's made some of them already. So I kind of trust her with that. So we're going to see how that goes. I told her to make me a list of what she needs. I'll get it from the store and she can have at it in the kitchen, which is phenomenal because that's an incredible skill to give a kid as they get older. They go off to college. They can make food for themselves. They're self-sufficient in that regard. And then as they get older, it's a skill that they have because as we've talked about in the past, so many people just go out to eat because they don't think they can cook and the cooking sucks. So great skill for them to have. Kendall, though, she bakes with our neighbor, Brett, and she can take the entire recipe. She can bake everything. The only thing she needs help with is usually putting it in and out of the oven because, she's 8. But
yeah,
other than that, she makes the entire, she'll make any baking recipe, which is pretty awesome. So what are some inexpensive, things you can do? You can cook, right? Pizza we talked about. That's super simple and easy, especially if you make your own sauce, which is another thing. Jars of sauce cost a lot of money. It's very easy to make it. So usually with a pizza, right, you can get a pound of dough for about $2. If you have homemade sauce, really all you need is some cheese. You can make dinner for under $10 for the whole family.
Yep.
And it tastes I would say better than most of the pizza joints out there. It's better than most of the pizza joints in Arizona. I'll just be honest. Maybe not back east because those were really good, but out here, like we can make a better pizza than that. So I know Brett, you like your homemade pizza. I certainly do. That's a nice, easy, and cheap one. And I've got the kids now. They're learning how to barbecue, which is phenomenal. As you know, Brett, I love to barbecue. It's my thing.
Yeah, but let's be honest. You're so obsessed with it. You do such a good job on the Traeger. Even though they're learning, you're never going to let them do it because it's never going to be good enough. It's not going to ever be to your level of cooking.
Well,
so you may let them dabble, but you ain't going to use it for the dinner table.
Well, it's funny you say that. So the other day we were making burgers, and Kendall was like, "Can I season up the burgers, make the patties, and season them?" So sure. So she's making the patties and she's putting the seasoning on, and like she hasn't been able to figure out yet the proper like shake to get the seasoning to come out nice and even.
Only you have a proper shake for food seasoning.
Well, yeah. Otherwise, you dump it, it just dumps out. It's just like a mound on there. So she was getting mad at me because I kept like taking her hand and be like, "No, this is what you get. This is how you do it." But again, like you're teaching them, they're learning, they're in the process with you, and at the end of the day, like she had the experience of doing it and helping with it. It makes her appreciate the meal more. And she gets to walk around and tell mom and tell her brother, like, "Hey, I helped make dinner tonight. I did this, I did that." So it's a fun segment. It's going to come every week. You're going to get a nice, inexpensive recipe you can do with the kids. And I hope you guys enjoy it.
We're not sponsored by Traeger, are we? Because I don't think I heard you say the name Traeger.
I didn't say the name Traeger, right? Yeah. But since you went there, Traeger's my go-to. Traeger's my go-to. I now have 2 Traegers. So I've got I've got the OG, which is still my favorite to cook on, which is the one you've eaten all the Traeger meals on. The new one is cool, but I'm still learning it.
Most people save up for cool things like cars and vacations. This guy over here literally takes it. I'm not kidding you. It took him 2 years to save for that new Traeger. And then he was so excited, he walked to the place to buy it because he's like, I need to get a workout in, and I want to buy my new Traeger. So he freaking walked 2 miles to the True Valley to buy the damn Traeger and then walked back home. And then he literally cleared his schedule, guys, for a whole day because it was going to be the delivery day of the new machine that he was getting. So I personally, listen, you're not going to come to me for cooking tips or tricks or recipes. It's not my jam. My wife is Dave can attest, a wonderful cook. She makes delicious food. She's a tremendous baker. I handle the grill, and that usually is burgers and steaks and chicken. That stuff's the simple stuff for me. But when it comes to the kitchen, it is not my strong suit. And I own it, and I have a great wife that is a great cook. And then when I go to Dave's, I know I'm getting a good meal because, well, I will say this. I'm banging on him for his Traeger, but I will say, in my 36 years on this planet, I still have never had a better meal than I have had on a Traeger. Whether it was a Thanksgiving dinner or it was just burgers or it was a tri-tip or whatever the case, and pulled pork, the Traeger does make your food so much better. I am very critical of it because it takes too long for me. And as you guys know, my ADHD, my energy, I don't have the time or the patience for it. I just want the product at the end. So that's my only knock on the Traeger is the time. Dave will disagree with me, but that's my outlook on my take on it. And you can make,
thank you. And you can make anything on a Traeger, which is the best part, right? You can make appetizers on a Traeger. You can make the dinner on a Traeger. I even bake on the Traeger. It's Traeger Day. It's all the time. It's phenomenal. And it's, you know what? You're going to look at the price. You're going to probably look up the Traegers right now. You're going to see the price and be like, "Oh my God." Right. But I'm dead serious when I say this. The original, the OG, the one that's $700. I know it sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. You'll have the grill forever. And you don't need to spend the fortune on the upper grills. Just get a nice Traeger, folks. Dive in, splurge when you can, when you have all your debt paid off, you have some money there, save for a Traeger. It'll make life better.
Do yourself a favor. If you want a Traeger for next summer, if you just save $50 a month, summer of 2023, you can have a Traeger.
Yeah, you're good to go. Now, you segued beautifully back there, and we kind of got off a little bit, right? But you said Dave walked down to the hardware store to buy his grill because he needed to get a workout in, right? So why don't you take it from there? Let's hit into the third topic.
So you are guaranteed to get a good podcast and 2 terrible segues today from topic to topic. So Dave walking into it, getting his workout done, segues us into topic 3 today, and that is 75 hard. if you follow my personal pages, if you follow Dave's personal page, if you have ever talked to me in your life in the last 2 years, if you follow anything that I do, 75 Hard will have been exposed to you at some point. And we are going to do a full length episode on 75 Hard. So we're not going to go crazy into 75 Hard right now. But we do want to just give, we both are so passionate on the subject. We just want to just touch on it. So 75 Hard, Dave, is created by, and Dave introduced 75 Hard to me. So Dave did 75 Hard. When did you originally do it, Dave?
I did it in, I started it in the summer of 2020.
So 2020. So we're almost 2 years removed since then. So Dave turned me on to 75 Hard. Actually, he didn't turn me on to it because when he originally said, I'm like, it's stupid, it's a fad, and he's going to fail. And he knows that, and I own that. I said, there's no way this guy's getting through this because it's too much. He doesn't have the discipline, and all those things that Dave and I have open conversations where I think he's got flaws and he knows where I have flaws, and it's part of our relationship that makes our relationship great, and it makes Full Force Father so great because we're not afraid to go after each other and call each other out and call BS when we see it. So that's my little intro into 75 Hard. I didn't think he was going to do it. I thought it was stupid. It went in one ear, out the other. I had my 5-minute talk with him on it, and that was it. Fast forward to January 2021. So last January. So we're talking 16 months ago now. A friend of mine in the mortgage business said, hey, I'm going to do 75 Hard. And I'm fast forwarding because we don't want to take an hour on the subject. Dave did 75 Hard, completed 75 Hard, effing killed 75 Hard in terms of results, mental, because it's a full program, mental, physical. I mean, you name it, it strikes everything. So I did it. I ended up doing it January, right after Finley's birthday, 2021. So January 4th, 2021. And I did it. And I finished in, what was it, March, in middle of March, I think it was. So Dave, give everybody a rundown of what the program is before I keep going, because you know how I can get going. So give everyone a rundown of what the program actually is. And then let's go briefly on your experience with it, my experience with it. We've both done it multiple times now, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So 75 Hard, it's got a few components that you need to do every day for 75 days straight, no days off. So the first thing you have to do is you have to follow a diet. Okay. So it can be any diet. It doesn't have to be specific. You don't have to pay for anything. The program's entirely free. So Andy Frisella, who developed this program, he doesn't charge you to use his specific diet. It's any diet you find out there. You have to stick to it for 75 days. You get no cheat meals whatsoever. It's no candy. It's no dessert. It's no soda. It like none of that stuff. There's none of it. No cheat meals.
Zero tolerance. You can't slip up. If you have a
potato
mini a potato chip, a mini chocolate chip, you fail the whole program.
Yep. The next thing is you've got to do 2 workouts a day of 45 minutes, and they've got to be 3 hours apart. And one of them has to be outside. Okay. And you might sound like, okay, that's not really that bad, right? But depending on where you live and when you do this program, you're going to be challenged. And you're going to be challenged greatly in that regard, right? If you're up in New England and you're doing this in the winter, you're going to have snow to deal with. You're going to have freezing weather, and it's tough. That's the point, right? In Arizona, I started it in July. It's freaking hot, right? It is super hot. So you have those components as well. So 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes. They got to be 3 hours apart. So you can't do 90 minutes at once, and one of them has to be outside. You can have no alcohol during the program. None. Not a sip. Again, you take a sip, you fail the program.
And believe it or not, that's one of the hardest parts of the program for most people.
Yeah, which I am. I'm not a big drinker. It's not my thing. So that one to me is the easiest. But I certainly could see how people who go out for happy hour and things like that, it will totally change your life. There's 2 other pieces to it. You've got to drink a gallon of water a day. So
what's water?
Hyper focused.
Can you please clarify people what water is, because it's one thing that Andy Frisella gets so upset about. What is water?
Water.
Just water. That's it.
Water from the tap or
Yeah,
from,
it's not flavored water. It's not pour Crystal Light into your water. It's not
yeah,
add lemon to your
no.
water. It is water.
Yep. It is
Just
water.
water. Yep.
Yep. That is it. So I've got this here. I've got to drink six of these a day. And if you don't drink a lot of water, that seems like a lot of water. But as you start doing the program, you just get into this thing. You say, all right, I need to have my first one done by this time, and then the next one done by this time. You just stay on that, and you stay super focused on it. Again, you're focused. You're intentional with what you're doing. And the last thing you have to do as part of the program every day is read 10 pages in a book. It's got to be a self-help development book. It can't just be, a murder mystery or romance novel out there. It's got to be something that's going to help you develop, make you more intelligent, and again, keep you moving forward and staying disciplined and growing yourself. And I think, the program as a whole, it is incredibly beneficial on so many levels. But the biggest thing I took out of it was the self-discipline, and just sort of the drive that you have to accomplish tasks and the time at which you actually have in your day. Before doing the program, I felt like I didn't have any time in the day at all to do things. And I was looking back, I was really doing nothing. I was doing things that wasted my time and wasted my mind. But when you get hyper focused on things that you need to do, critical tasks, man, it opens up your senses to like so many other things you can accomplish in a day.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway, the discipline is a big one. For me, it was the time management, because for someone that works remote like myself, time management can just derail you, because if you are not busy, and I hate the word busy, but if you're not actively doing what you're supposed to be doing for your job to make your job better, to make you better, the time does get away from you. So for me, it was the time management part of it. Like, where am I going to fit into 45s? Now, as you guys all know, I'm a workout machine, so I work out 3 hours a day anyways. I wasn't ever worried about the workout stuff, but it made me schedule my day. And that's what I mean by the time management. So instead of getting up at 5 a.m. like I do every day, going to get a 6-mile run in, and then coming home and hitting the weights, it made me break up my workouts, and it made me schedule them correctly. And that was my biggest takeaway, is it really helped me with my time management skills. And every day, all of a sudden, before, where it was kind of just fly by the seat of my pants, every day was scheduled, was planned out, and it just made it significantly easier. That was the big takeaway for me. The discipline thing is great. It makes you better in every aspect of your life. It makes you better mentally, physically, spiritually, because you're reading, you're gaining so much knowledge every day. It makes you better financially. The best year financially that I ever had was last year, 2021, because my year kickstarted with 75 Hard. On January 4th of 2021, I started 75 Hard. And that was the best physically. Well, it's hard for me to say physically, because when I was 25, but I'm 36 now. But in full picture, full spectrum, it was the most successful year, however you identify success. The most successful year I had ever had was 2021. And I 100% say that's because of 75 Hard.
I agree with you 100%. And I will say the same. I will echo those same things. Those of you who know me know that I went through a career transition at the end of 2020 into 2021. I really went into 2021 without a job where I was making any money, right? I was transitioning out of a job that was, it was all commission based. I failed at it. I had completed 75 Hard the end of 2020. And as I went into 2021, that discipline that I had, earned through this program kept me going and kept me hyper focused, and realized how much time I had in the day to do things. And 2021 was the best year we ever had financially. And I credit it to the discipline from that program. It changed my life. I know it changed your life. And there's no looking back.
Yep. And there's no amount of credit. Andy Frisella, as a realist, will probably never listen to my podcast or your podcast or our podcast, and I'm A-okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But that guy, if I ever meet him, I'd love, if I could sit down with 5 people, he's one of those 5 people. He never would have been on that list before last year, but he's I mean, so all the kudos in the world to Andy Frisella. He puts out amazing content. He's like Dave touched on him. He created this program, but the dude is the accolades I can't list. If you know what First Form is, if you know what he's got his tequila brands, if you know what the Arte Syndicate is, the guy his story is unbelievable. He's got the greatest podcast I've ever listened to. He has, and it's been the number one podcast going for I don't even know how many years. It's called. It used to be what is it? What's the old one called, Dave?
The MFCEO project.
The MFCEO
and his new one
project.
His new one is Real AF.
Yes. So go. I mean, I will absolutely promote his podcast. I hope you listen to ours, but listen to his too. And his story's great. He's an unbelievable guy, and I like I said, there's not enough words to describe him and what that program has done for me.
And it costs nothing. You don't pay anything for it.
Absolutely zero.
It's great.
It's absolutely zero. What you could do is buy his book. That's one way you could show your gratitude towards him and this program. And anybody out there that listens to our show that's done 75 hard, and I mean has done 75 hard, not just gone through the motions in the day 76, they just fell off the wagon. You know what I mean? I'm talking about done 75 hard, done the original, done phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We're going to get into those when we do the 75 hard episode. The least you could do for the guy is go buy his book, Dave. You have his book, right in front of you?
Yeah, sure do.
And it ties into our book recommendation for the day, guys. 75 Hard, a tactical guide to winning the war with yourself. I'm doing that out of memory. I'm not doing that out of reading because the book is like a goddamn Bible. I'm not meaning to curse the Lord, but go get that book and do the program. It will change your life. And I have friends, Dave, you have friends that have said, oh, you're nuts. Look what it's done to you. It's amazing when you want to get healthy and you want to make your life better, how many you see the haters come out in the negativity. It's absolutely insane. Oh, you're crazy. You're doing too work. Oh, you won't have a beer. Oh, look at you. You haven't been out to us. You find out who the true people are when you actually take a hold of your life. And that's what 75 Hard does for you. And I'm just as passionate about 75 Hard as I am parenting, guys. Go do the damn program. Go read the book. It's as simple as
go listen to his podcast on it. He breaks it down completely, and it's phenomenal.
He is unbelievable, but discipline. Like I said, with everything in life, guys, it comes down to discipline. Our Bible verse today is about discipline. It comes from Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. I can't stress discipline enough. Dave can't stress it enough. That Bible verse right there, it hits me right in the heart. It hits me in the brain. It's like a slap in the face. It comes down to discipline, guys. And no discipline is fun. 75 hard is not fun in the beginning. If you're someone that doesn't work out, or even if someone like myself that has done Ironmans and marathons, ultra marathons, 75 hard for the first month kicked my ass because it was something new. It was something different. And the time management discipline skills that it requires, because we can't stress it enough. There can be no slip ups. There can't be any slip ups. If if part of your diet,
exercise for 43 minutes.
Yeah, it has to be 45. You can't have if part of your diet, and that's the nice thing about the program, you make your own diet. But if part of your diet is no soda and you have a sip of soda, you fail the entire program. I don't care if you had 1 ounce of Coca-Cola in the whole 75 days, you failed it. It is a disciplinary. It is meant to create discipline. It is meant to create hyper focus, it's just everything involved. And that's why that chapter 12, verse 11 from Hebrews is so important. Dude, discipline sucks in the beginning, but those who make it through are the ones that make it through.
See that right there?
If you're watching on YouTube, Dave's pointing to his flag in the back of his studio. He burned the 75.
It's a flag with a 75 hard logo carved into it. So I can stare at it every single day and remember the impact that program made on my life and to never go back to the old one.
Yep. And discipline is, in the Bible verse, it's painful. It is. Changing bad habits it's hard, but if you are in a place where you want to get better at your job, you want to become a better parent, you want to become a better athlete, you want to become a better, you name it, go do 75 hard.
Yep.
If you're overweight, go do 75 hard. If you're underweight, go do 75 hard. If you want to get better at meeting people, go do 75 hard.
If you want to
And-
make more money, go do 75 hard.
Just do the program. Like that.
Yep.
That's my shameless plug for 75 hard. Like I said,
Yep.
I'll probably never meet Andy Frisella in my life. If I do, great. If I don't, I extend the gratitude towards him. Like we said in the last show,
Yep.
show some damn gratitude. And that guy deserves a lot of gratitude for that program.
Yep, sure does.
So with that, guys, Dave, anything else?
No, I think that wraps it up.
Sorry, guys. The energy level's at 11 today. This show brought it to a 12 or 13. So we appreciate all the listens, all the feedback, everything, guys. Keep listening. Keep sharing the show if you guys like it. Tell your dad, tell your cousin, tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your son. Listen to the show. You know, we hit a bunch of topics, and we're just trying to create a full force life. You know, that's what Full Force Fathers is. We want to make
Yep.
sure you're good to go in all aspects of life.
Yep. Follow us on all major platforms at Full Force Fathers. Full Force Fathers. Keep living the full force life, and we will talk to you soon.